introduction, I'm the CMO of Ubuntu Tribe. And yes, we put this together in 3 weeks. We're very happy to be here tonight to bring these esteemed ladies here. So thanks so much for me. I'd like to pass the mic to you so that you can give a quick introduction about who you are and what you're doing at the Merville right now. Thank you so much indeed.
Good evening, everyone. Oops. I know I'm standing in between you and the partners, trying to make this efficient. I am a social entrepreneur. I live in Lagos, Nigeria, and I wear a few hats as the co-founder of Ace Foods, an agro-processing company which processes spices and complementary foods sourced locally for the local market and exports. Sahel Consulting, which works across Africa in the agriculture and nutrition landscape, and African Food Change Makers, which is envisaged as a total home for million entrepreneurs and not only enable these entrepreneurs to scale, to nourish Africa, but also to change global narratives. It's a pleasure to be here.
Let's give her a round of applause.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Anna Menon. I'm the Chief Investment Officer of the American University in Cairo. I'm also a partner at 500 Global, investing across the Middle East and North Africa, and we're expanding our investments in the rest of Africa as well. And I was senior advisor on COP27 to the World Resources Institute. So talking about sustainability and inclusion is very, very important to me and a true passion that I want to continue spreading throughout the conference.
So much. So humbled to be joining you here for this incredible and impactful and important event that you have brought together and that we are. I'm so sorry for my voice. Some of you might have a similar condition like me right now, so I have to be patient. My name is Dr. Tatiana Tarnowski since 3 months. I'm the Chief Strategy Officer and co-founder of Leaders on Purpose. Leaders on Purpose is a global platform that works with heads of state and multinational CEOs and regional CEOs to transition to the purpose-first economy. We started out as a research initiative and as part of the private sector engagement strategy of the World Bank many years ago, and today really work on the incentive structures for those economic systems that we see can support us transitioning into a global economy and regional economies that can actually drive value for everyone and help us as well in the greatest tipping points of our time. Many leaders from Africa are part of our community, and I'm excited to share about the work that we're doing together, and thank you so much for having us.
Wow, that's so impressive. Thank you so much, ladies. I feel like even the representation that we have here on the stage is literally diversity at its finest. I would love to understand from your experience in Didi, like what the work you're doing in Africa right now, how do you see that extending in principle and how that could scale perhaps from that the agricultural perspective? This is a key topic right now. So I'd love to know what learnings that we could take from what you're applying.
Thank you so much. So I'll take it from two lenses. When we started African Food Change Makers, we recognized that many entrepreneurs are working in isolation. They don't have data, funding, and they're not armed with the skills to scale their businesses. So we decided to create a one-stop shop to fill this gap. And last year, we actually implemented 2 exciting programs, the first of their kind in Africa. One called Brace, which enables our entrepreneurs in the food and agriculture landscape to go through an e-learning course where they equip themselves to become climate resilient, climate champions, and to take advantage of climate financing. We've reached 1,000 entrepreneurs, and through our technology platform, are going to be reaching 3,000 this year. So technology allows you to scale really quickly. We also launched a Scaling Up Export program to enable our entrepreneurs to trade amongst themselves and to trade with the rest of the world. And then we launched a Leading Women in Food Fellowship to amplify the voices of amazing women who are disruptors, ecosystem enablers, game changers in the food and agriculture landscape. And it's been phenomenal to celebrate new voices and create platforms for women, because women play a critical role in the food and agriculture landscape, and oftentimes they're seen as primary producers or retailers in open-air markets. But we need women who are financing. We need women who are telling the stories, and they are there, but their voices and their faces need to be known by the world. So that's what we're doing around sustainability and inclusion. But what's relevant to the folks here in Davos? There are two things, and that's why I'm really excited about Ubuntu. When I started African Food Changemakers, I recognized that the face of Africa globally was a hungry child. And that when people would see me, they would say, oh, my mom used to say, finish your dinner. There are starving children in Nigeria. That made me angry because it's a single story, and a single story is dangerous. So what we do with African Food Changemakers is we tell positive stories about Africa using food as a way to build bridges. Most people don't know that okra is an Igbo word and has been adopted globally. So when you say the word okra, which is a vegetable, you're speaking my language, right? Or that when you have a hot chocolate today, some of you had hot chocolate in Davos, or coffee, or even a Coca-Cola, you have Africa to thank for it, right? Because 2 countries in Africa produce 70% of the world's cocoa.
I did not know that.
Chocolate was born in Africa, and 18 countries, it was born in Ethiopia, and 18 countries in Africa produce some of the best coffee in the world. And Coca-Cola was made with cola nuts from West Africa. That's why it's called Coca-Cola. And in the original recipe had West African cola nuts. So we have so much to contribute to the world, and the world needs to understand that on a daily basis they interact with our food. And so we're not just celebrating primary products, we're celebrating amazing African chefs. And the next, I see that Ubuntu today has jollof rice, shout out. And I'm saying that in future we want every African panel at the Congress Center to have African food, right? And we want our chefs celebrated on a global stage.
Absolutely.
Because our food is our gift to the world, just like our music and our fashion is. And so changing that narrative and driving demand for proudly African food is amazing. And we're creating an emoji. So whenever you look for your next chocolate bar in Switzerland, look for that emoji that says, made in Africa, sourced in Africa, proudly African. Because that will drive demand, change mindsets, ensure sustainability and inclusion, and we can do it together through Ubuntu. Thank you.
Thank you. That's absolutely incredible. I think some of you have already enjoyed some African food here tonight. Can we get a shout out to the chef, everybody? Yeah, who's enjoying that? Great. I would love to come back to that, especially what you're seeing sort of shifting at the moment on that stage. But I'd like to throw the mic to you. Sorry, Amal. So from what you're seeing being funded right now in terms of impact, where do you see the sort of spread of investment when it comes to sustainability and the new policies that are driving on a regulatory side? Love to see and hear sort of what you're seeing being most successful and where we can still make improvements. Yes.
So throughout the week in Davos, and it's just not, and I think Davos is a reflection of the most vital conversations that have been happening around the world for the last year. The top 2 topics are always AI, climate change. AI, climate change, and increasingly the role of the Global South. And when we talk about the Global South, Africa is the biggest representation of the Global South and what this continent is capable of doing and tipping the balance, especially when it comes to climate change. And there, the ask with climate finance is like, yes, but we need to de-risk. But we need to de-risk. Africa is too risky. Where is the risk premium? And so we're increasingly asking institutional allocators to make more commitments in partnership with governments, in partnership with philanthropy towards investing in both climate adaptation and mitigation. And the loss and damage fund was a great leap at COP27 and then at COP28 where they were able to bring in the operational mechanisms for it. But the risk premium in Africa continues to be something that is being, increasingly still debated. And I think it's up to us to prove that we are capable of de-risking the stakes, mobilizing local capital. So our local pension funds, local sovereign wealth funds across the continent, in Nigeria and South Africa and Egypt, across, because we know our markets best. We understand this risk that they talk about and how to price it. most common of which and most obvious for most is the foreign exchange risk. But we know our markets, we know our food, like she said. And I think, when we talk about climate action, it will have to come with climate finance. So we're not going to be able to move the needle without having more allocations towards climate finance, and it will take partnering much more innovatively. And I think, honestly, I give it to Africans who are the most innovative. I consider the back end. I'm not judging them because I really think they're just innovating in the back. Maybe they're coming up with the most advanced solutions that we just don't know about yet. They might have to whisper it to us in the end. But shout out to them for making the party still lively. And I think we'll have to get increasingly more innovative, both with the solutions and the finance products that de-risk this perception for other investors as well.
Tatiana, I would love to talk about leaders on purpose. You're working across the globe with so many different countries and nations that are trying to mobilize change behind this topic. I'd love you to throw a little bit of light to what are the difficulties that you see culturally that can drive this change, or that is a barrier to this, to what you're doing in your work, and where can we open the floor a little bit? Where do you think it can improve so that you can actually drive much better and faster and further? Because I would like to hear ideas about how all of you can drive your work at greater velocity and speed. So yes.
Thank you so much. This is an excellent question. And my answer to this, we always look from a perspective of opportunity. I think we are, and we all know this, the Global Risk Report shows it in all the panels, all the discussions, but also all over the world, we are at a tipping point. Our economic model that has brought us here today is now about to be evolutionized. Given all the positive or the negative trajectories that we are facing, we have a lot of challenges, but I so strongly believe into also the notion of Ubuntu and looking that this is also our collective opportunity. How do we upgrade how our economies run, how we measure for investment, how we ensure, how we connect value, global value, but also regional value, that it can really stay on the ground and in the regions and in the communities and societies that have contributed to this. And how can also very innovative economic models that are also out there in science institutes be applied? Because right now we're running our economy on 50 to 60-year-old economic models. So not only are we really at this tipping point where we look at AI and all these technologies that we know, but we also are at a tipping point of how to do intelligent decisions, how to truly connect towards a world that we want to create with intent. And today, I must say, we actually have so much demand. Our biggest challenge is we need a bigger team. And so, yes, and with Africa, one of the examples there that I want to shine light on, so we do every year Global Leaders on Purpose CEO study that started 6-7 years ago and really gave birth to Leaders on Purpose and what we are today. We identified Dr. James Mwangi, the CEO of Equity Group Holdings, and in Africa of one of the incredible champions. And when we learned of his story and his truly systemic approach to business that he showcased during COVID, he was something we could learn from. So it's not just, I think this is very important, what can we learn together and co-create together instead of coming in from the outside and saying, well, this is what you need to do. And at the other side, we have the ability to learn from what's happening in Africa on the ground with all these new asset classes, measurement, ensuring, navigating through complexity and challenges that we have all over in the world. But this is right now in the boards, it's number one topic, and it's not anymore just for a multinational CEO. It's on the regulatory mind, it's on the mind of the insurer, and it's on the mind of the asset manager, and it's on the mind of the investor, and it's very clear. So I think it's just a matter of time, and for forums like this to truly bring us together and overcome discourse and stories that maybe are outdated and tell a better story of what we can create together.
I just want to commend you because I know in different environments, being an entrepreneur and sort of driving your work, there is different adversity that you face as leaders in your space. If I can ask you to share something, professional or personal, as you like, about some of the change that you've seen in your journey, in your personal, like your professional development, that maybe the audience here, because they're now being quiet, which I'm so impressed, if you would like to maybe share just a comment about something that you've developed and you've learned on your journey that you think could be helpful and insightful for other people looking to follow your line. Okay, thank you.
Wow, that's a loaded question for 10 o'clock at night, whatever time it is. But I would say there are two things I've learned. I've learned the importance of humility in leadership. I think as a woman entrepreneur, oftentimes you're underrated when you walk in the room. As a black woman entrepreneur, you're even underrated more. But if you have the humility, you stoop to conquer because you are willing to learn, give others the space, and then surprise them with your resilience and vision. The second is really the tenacity. So when you often tell people that you have a vision for 1 million entrepreneurs, right? Or that you have a vision my first organization was called Leap Africa, that we want to be across Africa, inspiring young people to become change agents. And I was 28 at the time. Most people tell you it's not possible. Who's going to fund you? Who are you going to partner with? And I think that's the tenacity and the resilience of the Nigerian, the African, and a faith-based person who believes that in the impossible. And if you want to live in Africa, and in Nigeria in particular, I've lived in Nigeria for 20 years now, it's not easy, but every day we wake up and we realize we can achieve the impossible because of who we are, because of the legacy we're leaving behind, because of those who have paved the way for us, the ancestors who have fought for us, but also because our children and grandchildren will hold us accountable for the decisions we take today. And that's what gives me the fire in my belly every day. Thank you.
I think for me, the two things that definitely come to mind and have been proven again and again is the power of community, especially in this continent. I think speaking on sustainability and inclusion, when I started my career in finance and especially within asset allocation, the number of fund managers who are women is, I don't even want to say what it was because it was just so depressing. But today I look at the continent and some of the best investors I've come across have all been women in Africa, and the number keeps growing. We meet annually. There's the organization Private Equity Women in Investing, and we meet every year in Cape Town at the end with the Super Returns. And I love to see how this community has grown so much to over 100 women fund managers across the continent, and that I think really is about community and showing generosity, just women helping each other out throughout their journeys, because it was hard for each one of us, and if we can make it easier to one more women, it's really something that advances the whole continent. The other thing is resilience. I think the continent is extremely volatile, and we've been through so much, and this is what makes it exciting. It is what brings the fire in my belly. And I think with that volatility, with this passion, with this liveliness, there's also the resilience to come back up stronger every time we've been hit with something, and we come out stronger every time.
Well, wonderful. Yes, I couldn't agree more. I studied mathematics, and at my university, I was 1%. And this has continued for quite a while in my professional career until I found my community, right? So I really think one thing is believe in yourself and believe in your vision, because truly everything is possible. When we enabled a global leadership letter to be launched 3 years ago in the Financial Times New Agenda all over the world,
when the whole world was speaking about build back, we were saying, no, build better. This is not the time to build back. And we had all these leaders sign up. 2 years later, 29 countries starting to work on that. We only found out like 2 years later about this. So everything is possible. And this brings me to embracing uncertainty and complexity. It needs resilience and tenacity, your community, your family, your friends, and the examples out there. But uncertainty is something that I think has also a little bit of a negative story out there. Uncertainty just means things will be volatile, so yes, they can go into a negative direction, but they can also go in an up direction. And you cannot diversify uncertainty away. So you embrace yourself to really make strategic decisions under uncertainty and trust. And have, trust in your energy and in your vision that you're holding, because if you can imagine it, you can create it.
Sorry, so just one more point, because I think what you've raised here is how things can get shoehorned into a single story narrative. The fact that across diverse cultures, we're learning a lot of lessons that I think one of the biggest points is being underestimated on a global stage. And that's why part of Africa House and Ubuntu Tribe and elevating these stories of like the good news that's coming out of North Africa, Nigeria, one of the fastest growing youth populations, incredible adversity and amazing talent, and also this global stage of leaders on purpose, like driving change at, government level. And I would just like to maybe ask one word that would summarize your experience at Davos so far, and maybe, just maybe something that you would like to say that, resembles Ubuntu for you. Sorry, I'm putting you on the spot, aren't I? But we can wrap it up with that, and I appreciate you. Thank you so much.
My one word would be hope.
Mine is serendipity.
Mine is magic.
Thank you so much, ladies.